little bit about Pablo, just in my few minutes of research. He was appointed Faculty of Spain of the Touch for Health School in 2020, a position that he carries out with great honour and enthusiasm. He is an active member of the board of the Personal Development School of the IKC since 2020. But since 1997, Pablo is a qualified therapist. He is a qualified Touch for Health instructor. That happened in 2003. And he became a Touch for Health trainer in 2016. Today, Pablo will present his Personal Development School accredited workshop on the TMJ, temporomandibular joint. And I understand the title is ATM, which is the TMJ dysfunction level 1. Why level 1? Because level 2 is coming soon. Pablo, educate us. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, hello, Jackie and Sylvia, and the rest of this amazing family called Personal Development School and International Kinesiology College, and especially my friend, our dear Lady President, Jira Kesey. Thanks everybody for giving me the opportunity of share our working. I'm going to answer some questions to try to explain what we do and how it happened. Okay, so let's start. First question is why? And to answer that, I'm going to show you my partner. She is Asun Esther Boyd, my kinesiology sister and my partner. Without her accompaniment, energy, and friendship, I would never have been able to get where I am. She's like a library filled out of knowledge, and it's a pleasure to work with her, creating and sharing courses. So the first words are for her, because with her accompaniment, this is why I'm here. I want to introduce and recognize Philip Rafferty and Juan Carlos Monge. Juan Carlos was our first kinesiology instructor. He is from Barcelona, in Montmeló. He was there in 2016, but he was a master, and his way of teaching and practicing kinesiology has been an inspiration for us. Philip Rafferty, he has developed so many courses about TMJ and how to release the stress in this body area in an energetic way. Teaching his courses made Asun and me think about the idea of a more physical approach and emotionally, because his line of work is eminently energetic. So I'm going to talk about the TMJ. So what's that? The temporomandibular joint, TMJ for short, is like a hinge that connects the jaw to the side of the head. There are two pair joints, one on each side of the head, located just in front of the ears. So if you move your mouth and put your fingers in the front of your ears, you will feel it. These joints are so important in many different ways. The first one is because they help our body balance. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever seen a dog running? He maintains his balance using his tongue, both TMJs, and his tail. Humans do the same, but it's not as visual like dogs or other animals. So we use our TMJ to balance when we are moving. Another thing to explain is muscular chains. There is a surgeon called Thomas Myers who has taken human corpses and removed all the organs, the muscles, the bones, the blood vessels, and the nerves, and leave only the connective tissue. And what we have there, it's a continuous fascia. We have three of them, a frontal one that comes from the top of the head, from the frontal bone, goes through all the back of the body and ends at both big toes. So what we have here is a connective tissue that runs all over the body and connects all of different places in one moment. So if we put an input in one place of this tissue, it will go around from all several places at the same time. This doctor teaches courses and wrote a book which is called Anatomy Trains, where is everything explained. So if you want more info about that, it's so easy to get it. So looking at this job, what you can notice is that everything inside the body is connected. So we use this connective tissue to put an info in the body, and it will go through this connective tissue all along the body in the same moment. We have to move the info inside the body, blood vessels, nerves, electrical meridians, or other energetic flows. And we have this kind of tissue that moves the information so fast and effectively. And if we use this connective tissue and the muscle related with them, we have several muscle chains. We have a frontal one, a rear one, and two at the sides. So we pose the dilemma that what will happen if we release the stress of this connective tissue and both TMJ at the same time? It will take effect in the whole body. So we developed our work releasing the stress in this area and seeing what was the relationship between this area and the entire body using these muscle chains. In our course, we talk about the joint, the muscle chains involved in the human body, and the relationship with the 5 elements of the traditional Chinese medicine using GDS method developed by Godelieve Denis Straff, which has done a really good work about the posture in the person and how we can maintain that in relationship with the feelings, all this kind of information we have inside of our body. And we use touch for health techniques added with another muscular energetic working, and we pay especially attention to the emotional release because there is a lot of stress accumulated in the body, in the connective tissue. So if we release that, we could harmonize energy and return to the person to this natural state of health. And when are we going to do that? We're going to teach this course in Murcia in Spanish language, but if some English person wants to come here, we will have available English translation, and it will be on October, the 15th and the 16th of this year. We start on Saturday morning and we end on Sunday afternoon. And if somebody has taken this 11-week course and want to work deeper, we are working in the second level of TMJ, where we talk about the stress involved in each tooth and many other different tools to release it. So if anyone wants more info, you can visit us at www.mcguinness.com. And finally, I want to say thank you again for inviting me and let me tell about our work and what we are doing. Thanks everybody for taking time to listen to me and this little explanation. It has been a pleasure. And if you need any explanation, I'll be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, Pablo, how professional is that? Well prepared, well delivered. Oh, you did it. Amazing.
Done it.
Yes. And remember at the beginning, I asked everyone to, make sure they had their pencil and paper. Well, you might have just been so absolutely excited and for every moment and holding on to every moment and every word that Pablo shared. But right now I'm going to ask, do you have a question for Pablo? Maybe you have several. Please, Wayne.
I've read, Pablo, that temporomandibular joint problems can create all sorts of problems in the body. So what I'd be interested in finding out, when you bounce the TMJ for individual people, what are some of the problems, the symptoms or the pains or the dysfunctions that they've had that you've noticed have disappeared, so we can see what sort of problems have been linked with the temporomandibular joint issues?
We think that it's involved in the posture of the person. So if you change the posture of the person, everything will change. And maybe there is a big emotion kept on this joint. So if you release it, you will give the person the possibility of change their life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you've seen situations where a person maybe has sciatica or one leg longer than the other, and those things.
Yes, because sometimes, the body has so many places to keep the info, the substances, and the TMJ area is a place where we keep a lot of feelings, emotions, and bad substances, okay? So if you release it, you will have an effect on the rest of the body, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Good.
You're welcome.
Oh,
I have a question. Is
Yes,
the corrections all with stretching, Pablo? Like we saw one picture there and it was the leg being stretched, I think. Is that how you release it?
Because we work with the GDS system,
Okay, what's
We
GDS?
GDS is a system that was created by Godeliev, Dennis Straff. This said your posture means what you are.
Mm.
So if we change our posture, we will change our way of being. Okay, so we take the stress on the joint, the effect on the rest of the body, on these muscle chains. Okay, and we take the energetic way because we work with some TFH techniques, some electric ones, and we have the stress release. So if we put all these things together, we will have a great stress releasing.
Thank you.
Oh, another question, please. Pablo, I have a question. If at this time there is a question that we should be asking you, but we just don't know what that question should be, can you tell us what that question should be?
Which kind of illness can you use these techniques?
Good, good. So I'm going to ask you, Pablo, what kind of illness can you use these techniques?
Every postural illness, when you have a back pain, a pain on this area, a lot of stress kept in your body that has disturbed your posture, this technique will help you.
Oh, good. Wayne.
So are you able to look at a person's posture, and based on their postural deviation, you're able to say, well, this is a problem with the pterygoid muscle or the mandibular or the maxilla or the temporalis? Can you specify which part of the TMJ is related to a specific dysfunction?
We are lazier than that. We use the muscular test. We will test all the muscles in this area to say which of them has stress, and then we'll use the technique to release it. But when we first see the person, we have huge image of him because we release the stress in the temporomandibular joint, the sphenoids, all the muscles inside the mouth and the neck, one by one, but using TFH techniques. See the hyoid is
hyoid, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I have answered you.
Yes, yes. And do you have to get inside the mouth to work on the pterygoid muscles, or you can do something from the outside?
Sometimes we use a glove to work inside to release the stress, because sometimes the muscles are so blocked. We need to use a glove to release it. But sometimes if we use energetic techniques and techniques that will make an input from other place, you don't have to touch inside the mouth of the person.
Yeah. So when you say energetic techniques, you're talking about like Philip Rafferty's approach.
Some are related to his work. Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. We use small intestine 29 related with the navel, because we use the 5 element techniques and the end of this meridian to make an impulse, okay, and try to energize this meridian to relax this area.
And once you've done the correction, do they have to do the correction on an ongoing basis once a day for a while to maintain it, or is it a single time correction?
Sometimes it's only needed one correction, but at the end of the session, we actually, if you need some homework, and sometimes you need to do a part of the techniques that has appeared during the session. So we'll teach the person to do that during some days, and they will help to increase a health way of being.
Beautiful. Pablo, this is beautiful, a beautiful presentation today, and the quality of your presentation today tells of the quality of your work and your workshop. Thank you so much. So proud to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here.
I had a question for Pablo. I've been working with a dentist who because I've had TMJ problems all my life, and he believes that that if a child can't express themselves when they're young, that it affects both the TMJ and the teeth.
Mhm.
Would you go along with that?
Yes.
I suppose my question is, does the emotion affect the is it the emotion that affects the TMJ that affects the posture, or the posture that affects the TMJ that affects the emotion?
Mhm.
I think the emotion is deeper.
Mhm.
So if you release it, the work that you have done with the dentist will be easier.
But
I'm going to tell you a story, okay?
Mhm.
We had a client that had brackets in her mouth for several months, and she has a tooth that couldn't twist, okay?
Mhm.
So we did this technique to this client, and at the next day, she called us and said a lot of exclamations,
Mhm.
because during the night, the tooth has twisted. It was a lot of pressure that the dentist has put on this tooth using the brackets. Okay, so when we released the stress on the tooth, the work of the dentist was done, and the tooth was in the perfect position. Only one night. But there were 6 months before using the brackets and a lot of pressure in the teeth. Okay, but when we released the stress on this area, all this job was done.
That would make sense, because my dentist would say to me that, if you weren't allowed to express when you're a child, that when you do it as an adult, you'll probably have a lot of bad words coming out, and that child needs to say everything they need to say. But he believes that everything we express, all our emotional thoughts, when we express them verbally through our mouth, every time you say something, it affects all of your teeth and your jaw.
Mm-hmm. They work all together.
I have quite strange dentist, but he's very much into the emotional side of it. Yeah.
Yes, if you think in
Mhm.
childhood, emotion and body, they are before the mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so everything is connected.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thanks. Mm.